Hi everyone. Something weird happened. Some time ago I posted a video of me showing you a hobby project for the Danish Nationals, and it was weirdly popular, so I thought I might do some more. Today I want to show you how I made these little scatter terrain pieces, miniature signs for my tables. Right, that's what I'm doing. I've sort of prepped it all out. This is the first time I'm really doing something like live, so I've sort of prepped it out. Excuse me if I don't know how to do this. I'm no Mel the terrain tutor, okay? But let me show you how I really easily make those. And the first thing you do is you go online and you find some nice printouts. Search diorama stuff and you just print them out in color. That's what I did. They're not as nice as if you buy them from a shop, but in 28mm, who's gonna notice? So that's the first thing I did. Then I prepped, and I'm going to turn you down here to my table. So I did some prepping. First thing I did was I made a wash here, which was basically just a few squirts of brown cheap craft paint, and then I added water, trying to be fairly precise in the amount of water, and some dish soap as well, because dish soap really, it breaks the tension of the water. Then I just dropped in a bunch of matches and some, what's this? This is some sort of very thin wood that I got from a building site. So this used to be a blinder of some sort for a window, but it's not anymore because the wood was really good and it was free. So, and I dropped all of them in, and then I pulled them out and just put them to dry here. Then finally, I took my trusty cutter and I just cut a few random pieces, random lengths, and the good thing is one cut and I can just break them off. A cool little extra feature is if you want to have the same size cuts, use the first one as a measuring stick and then just make the cut where it sort of fits down. Don't know if you can see that. Right. Then you make the new cut and break it off. Right. So this gave me the sticks that I'm going to use, the uprights that I'm going to use for my signposts. Now, next process is cardboard. So I cut out my pieces here, and then what I do is I just pull down some PVA. This is very, very cheap. In Denmark, it's called wood glue. It's PVA. It's just box standard PVA. You can get it at Home Depots or something like that. And then a wet brush it doesn't need to be wet, but I keep my terrain brushes just in a jar here, in water, when I'm doing projects, because the water will just ease up the PVA just a little bit, which is nice when you want to get it everywhere here, because PVA is not always very pliable. Right, so woo, dropped it. So now I have a piece of cardboard with PVA on it, and I just try to place my stuff here. If it doesn't fit, I'm gonna need to adjust it a little bit. And let's see, what else can we get down here? I hate wasting space. These are big though. Oh, durchfahren verboten. That's a good one. No driving through this area, apparently. I don't know why. Maybe it's dangerous. Maybe there are Allied bombers coming in. Many of these signs are in German. There are some, I got some that was in Russian as well. And I got a bunch of French signs as well. So I've got a few different languages that, so I can make, for different tables, I can have like different themes. Right. There we go. So now I glued it all down. This needs to dry. Luckily for us, I already did this process, so I'm going to move you guys a little bit. Right. I already did this process, so I have a few that's already dry. You can see the PVA is sort of bending the cardboard. That doesn't matter that much. So what I do now is I cut these out with box standard scissors. Don't use the one you use in the kitchen because paper will absolutely destroy your scissors. But, you know, take one specifically for terrain that you can destroy. Luckily, I work at a school. We have scissors. It's part of the job. So I usually cut them out in smaller bits here because the cardboard is kind of hard. So it's not always easy to get them straight from the full sheet of cardboard here and cut out one piece at a time. So I cut them out in smaller pieces where I can sort of get something off. Like this is a good piece, right? I do this so that I can handle them more easily when we get to the actual, like the individual cutting out. So in a minute, I'll cut out most of what I think I can easily get out of this sheet of cardboard here. Yeah, let me just do that one as well. Right. Now, I have this small sheet here with a couple of signs on it. So now I start cutting them out individually. And I just, at this process here, I usually listen to a podcast or watch TV with the missus, because you don't really need to focus that much to do this. You just need to follow the lines, which is what I'm doing right now, right? I'm just trying to follow the lines anyway. Most of these signs are really well done, so you can see more or less that the upper part of this sign follows the upper part of that sign, which means it's really easy to just cut out lines. Here we have one where the lower part of this sign follows that one. Yep. Love that. That is so weirdly satisfying. And at the end, once you've got a lot of bits, you can just snip, and then you've got a single piece, a single sign. I make a huge pile of these, different shapes, different signposts. Some of them are road signs leading to somewhere. Some of them are just field signs that I guess for some reason the Germans here felt like they were important. This one is, I think it's in Russian, saying Moscow. I think. I don't read Russian. And then we have a German one here. Ostkommandatur am Ortsausgang nach Grosino, Haus number. Yeah, something. My German is not particularly good either. See, the ones that are pointed are a little bit trickier to do, but you can do them. Not a huge issue. Just takes a little bit. It's a little bit more fiddly, and you get some of them that are really small. Those can be done as well with a little bit of patience. I find that I feel like it's important not to cut the black lines of these signs. Not that they are like, I want them to be cartoonish in with having an outline and stuff, but that black line does give a little something to the signpost. So I try to keep the outlines of the signs here as much as possible. And cut. Look at that. Very small signpost. Right. So, at some point, I have a big pile of signs here. I'm going to shuffle you a little bit further out, down the production line here. So now I have a bunch of signposts, and I have a bunch of signs. So signposts and signs. Now these are all of a similar size. I can and do sometimes cut them a little bit. For this I use a nail clipper. You can use whatever tool you like. This, for me, the nail clipper does leave a little bit of a jagged edge on the top of it, which I kind of like, because that makes them look a little bit more like they're a real post that maybe it's gotten bashed about a bit. So what we do now is we try to assemble these into signposts. So I am going to do a signpost for mines, if I want a minefield somewhere. So I put a little bit of PVA on one side of my square matchstick here. Put a sign at the top. And I know I have some red and white, so I put one below it as well. Because, there we go. Look at that. There we have a mine sign. I put one of them a little bit crooked, as if, you know, it's just a German soldier who's nailed it up somewhere. He doesn't care. He was on the clock doing stuff, right? And then maybe let's do some signposts for road signs in France. So I have one for Cannes here, and I have to be honest with you guys. I don't really care if these road signs are realistic. You could look at a map and try to make sure that everything is pointing in the right directions and are close to each other, but I don't really care. They're 28mm. They're going to be on a tabletop. Nobody's going to look. So I just put a few down, like 2 or 3 at the most. That's my usual. Now, here we have one that's a little bit bigger. You can see the sign, right? For that, I want to do a double post. So I put the glue on the back here. I have 2 of the flat ones from that blind that I cut up. I just put them down like this. Trying to make sure that they are equal length below the signpost, like that. And should we give it something more? Yeah, we should. But that is too big. I think this one is good. Geez, it needs a little bit more cleaning up, this one. Yeah. Again, I have no idea what it says. My German viewers can correct me when I'm doing mistakes here. Here we go. And that's how I make a signpost. Now, if I want some of them to have signposts that go in different directions, I have to wait a bit. And then you can glue one that goes in a different direction. Here we have one that's only like military signs. But you just have to wait. I put down these two first, and then I waited for the next one so that these two were done drying out. Right. At this point, I have a bunch of these small signs here. Let me just show you. Right. So I have a bunch of signs. Now, these of course need something to stand on. So that is the next process that I'm going to go to. I'm going to push this a little bit aside, pull you guys one further along, and there we go. Right. So, next process. I have my glue gun, because this can be fiddly, or you could do this, potentially you could do it with glue, just not PVA. I have a bunch of really small bases. You could use washers or whatever. It doesn't really matter. The important thing is that they need to stick almost instantly, right? So I put a glob of glue on the end of my signposts. And this is hot glue, so mind your fingers. Put it down on the base. And there's almost an instant bond. Can you see that? Sometimes it takes a little bit and can be a little bit wobbly. Now, how to do a 2-1. So this is our post from before. A signpost. I do a glob on each of them. And it doesn't matter if it's everywhere, and because this is all going to get covered. Ta-da! Yeah, and see, this one is a bit wobbly. Doesn't want to stand. I'll just give it something to lean on, I think. Yeah, it doesn't want to stand. Sometimes they get too heavy, or, you know, just wobbly, or it's the end of the wood is not straight, and that can give you a little bit of wobble as well. There we go. Street signs in France. And let's do one more. Mines. There we go. Now, one thing that's really annoying with glue guns is that they leave all these strands of silicone hot glue everywhere. So you have to pull those off at some point. That is annoying, but it's not massively bad. Right. This goes away. Don't need that anymore right now. Next process. Now, what we have, I have a few that's already done with the glue here, and you can possibly see, can you see? This annoying little strand of glue has to go. Right, I have these 3 here. So, the next process is I take my PVA, I take one of my wet pencils, sorry, not pencils. It's because in Danish it's called en pensel. So that was a Danglish moment there. It's a brush. Right. So I take one of these, and I could actually use a little bit of water if I need to, because this needs to be a little bit more wet. And then I PVA the base. Okay. Here I have my my favorite mix of different textures, which is sand and a little bit of rubble and a little bit of stones and stuff. I usually take a little bit of the rougher stuff first and just drop it down on. And then once a little bit of that has set, I take sand and just sprinkle around. That will do us for the base. The sand is very fine. It's from a local beach here, where I have my second home. I just went down to the beach, got that, and then the rubble and the smaller stones have been collected from, you know, dry waste, basically. Here I'll give it a few bricks. I told you last time how I made bricks, right? That is just foam board that has been cut into small squares. And there we go. Another little sign for the front. Mines beware. And the big one here. Here we go. Make sure that you get PVA around where you have the hot glue, because the hot glue in itself has got very smooth silicone texture, so that doesn't work for us. And I often put a few of the larger pieces of rubble and stone around that as well, and then just sprinkle it down with sand. There we go. And the final result, once painted and given a few wisps of grass, is this. So that was my very unusual video, how to make street signs for your bold action table. I hope you enjoyed this one. I'll see you in the next video. Cheers.